it is. A little less than a minute. All right, very good. I'm going to call this Admin Exec Committee meeting to order at 3 p.m. Move that microphone just a little farther away because it's working very well today. Thank you, Chris. All right. Committee or public comments? Anybody from the committee?
None.
Do we have any people from any of the public online, Chris? All right, and seeing that, I will move on to item 3, review of proposed changes to the internet usage policy.
Okay, so as part of a periodic review of the district policies to check for relevance and accuracy, changes have been made to the network security policy. You'll notice on the agenda that it says internet usage policy. That's referring to an outdated policy, which was referenced in the employee personnel manual, and there was some debate as to what the new policy should be called, and after discussion, staff has decided that network security policy better covers what the policy covers. A lot of covering. So, to get into the meat of the matter, the changes that were made on page 2, we added in item 6 that no employee may load any software on the district's computers by any means of transmission unless authorized in advance by the SCADA/IT administrator.
Okay.
On page 3, we removed the technical section as that falls under the responsibility of the SCADA/IT administrator.
Okay. And
then in security, we removed reference to the firewall, as that again falls under the jurisdiction of the SCADA IT administrator, but have added any employee who attempts to disable, defeat, or circumvent any security facility will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination.
Okay. All right. And those are the total of the changes?
That's the total of the changes.
One quick
And the
question.
staff recommends approval of those changes.
Okay. Will the differences in the naming convention for the policy and in the employee guidebook and so forth, will those be reconciled so they're all in keeping with
Yes, Lauren is currently keeping track of all the changes that are being made to the personnel manual, and then once those are all accumulated, we'll be making changes, all those changes.
so the chance of naming convention confusion is at a minimum? All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Vice President, any questions or comments?
I'm just trying to pick out the details here, Jason. I apologize, it's probably already in here, but yeah, your recommended change in item 6 about loading any software onto the computers. Is there also a similar restriction for downloading any software from the district computers for personal use?
At the beginning of the paragraph, it says any software or files downloaded.
Oh, I'm sorry, right there in front of me.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have any comments.
Okay. Don, anything?
No, sir.
Anybody, any questions or comments? Are we still without public? Okay.
I just noticed the counter isn't showing. Chris, is that?
I don't see it. I see live on the air and microphone in the phones.
I see 100.
We got 100 viewers. Oh,
Wow, dang,
they just all disconnected.
very popular.
Okay.
Good job, Jason, thank you.
Okay, so do you have any objections to recommending this?
I do not.
Okay, then no more, then they let it, does anybody in the committee have any objections? Jason?
No.
Okay, then the committee will so recommend. Thank you. Item 4, Junior Associate Board Member Pilot Program.
Okay, I'll take that one on. This program was first brought to the board's attention back at the April 6th meeting. There's a copy of the staff report you should have in your package there. And this program was modeled after Scotts Valley Water District that started a similar program. This was discussed at the board meeting, and the motion was made and voted by the board unanimously to direct staff to review the documents provided by Scotts Valley Water District and revise as appropriate to fit a similar program for Indian Wells Valley Water District. So we actually had this ready last month, but there were so many things on the agenda that we decided to put it off until this month.
Okay.
So what you have is a description of the pilot program, Junior Associate Pilot Program. Just a couple of things to highlight. Junior Associate Board members would be expected to attend all regular board meetings, participate in committee meetings, and they do not attend closed sessions. That's specifically mentioned in the pilot program. They're non-voting members of the board. The district is expected to provide resources for the program that would include but not be limited to a mentor-mentee relationship with a designated board member and access to executive staff members of the district, and participation in community outreach events or relevant educational opportunities. Some of the other things on the flip side, page 2 outlines the eligibility. We're looking for candidates that would be in the age range of 16 to 24, that they reside or work in the district service area, have interest in local government and civic engagement, are available to attend the meetings, and a willingness to commit to a one-year commitment of the pilot program. And again, the terms one-year program, which would commence January 1, 2023, a maximum two members, junior associate members. Should the program evolve into a permanent program, the successful junior associate board member would be eligible to serve again, but must reapply as the pilot program ends after 1 year. That we do propose compensation at $50 for attendance at each authorized meeting or event, and the application period would begin in the fall of 2022. The second document is the actual application program, or a program application. Similar, the eligibility is outlined, is similar to the description of the pilot program. We are proposing that those that are submitting applications would submit them no later than 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 9th, and that the board would conduct interviews for the potential candidates on December 12th, 2022, and that they would begin their term January 1st. And there's a copy of the application form. As you can see, personal contact information. Why are you interested in serving on the board of directors, and how would the Indian Wells Valley Water District benefit from your participation?
Okay.
Those are the documents that we put together in support of the program. So we were,
I note on the page 2 of 2 for the first handout, should a JAB member be unable to finish their term, including failure to fulfill the duties or uphold the code of conduct. To which code of conduct are we referring? The employee code of conduct or the board code of conduct? And how do they get a copy of that?
well, we do have a code of conduct for employees in the personnel manual,
Okay,
and that same thing applies to the board members, I would think. So,
right.
Yeah.
So,
So that would be available for them to, should they want to know what's in the code of conduct.
they probably ought, if they can get fired for violating it, they probably
Yeah.
ought to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Or at least know that there is a code of conduct.
Yes.
Okay, so that'd be my only concern would be to specify in advance that there is an attendance requirement and that there is a code of conduct, which they will be expected to follow.
Right, and it does say that the board, junior associate board members are expected to attend all regular board meetings, which are normally held at 6 PM on the second Monday of each month.
Okay, is that on the application or on the handout?
It's on the pilot program, which they would get a copy of as well.
Right, okay,
And
all
I
right.
think it's, I believe it, let's see.
Yes, it's there. It's paragraph 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5. All right, okay. Mr. Vice President, questions, concerns?
Only one, and I hate to bring the one that brings it up, but it seems like the compensation is a little high considering the value that these members would bring to the board, especially for, like, if they were to attend committee meetings, which are mentioned here as appropriate. Our short meetings sometimes, I mean, even I feel a little bit embarrassed about the compensation we get for a 15-minute meeting, but
Hey,
to
Mallory,
have that for a
you
junior participant.
want to speak up?
Yes.
Might want to speak up a little
Oh,
louder.
sorry.
Don't worry, we make it up for that with the last board meeting.
We did. We did. So that would be the only thing I would focus on. I'm not sure where we arrived at $50, but for a 16 to 24-year-old, that's a pretty high premium for somebody that's just coming in a learning mode.
So assume it's a 3-hour board meeting.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Just something, a thought I just had. What if the district took the money, the $50, and put it into some sort of interest-bearing scholarship account that they could use when they went to college?
Or trade school or what have you. So it's really only $15, it's only $15 an hour, which is less than minimum
Yeah, exactly.
wage. I don't think
Books,
it's,
whatever.
Yeah, for
for a board meeting?
like a board
I
meeting.
guess,
yeah.
I'm thinking maybe that could be an option, but they may want the money. I mean, gas
Well, I want
prices
the
and
money
things
too,
like
but I
that.
don't know what that means.
Yeah, the issue it doesn't bother me as much, except when I start thinking about it, the committee meetings as appropriate. Most of these rarely go an hour. So,
Does it say?
Just
attendance
comment.
at Committee meetings?
yeah, it says as appropriate.
All right,
First
well.
page. So maybe we don't have them in the committee meetings, I don't know, but, or a different way of
Not dip to the
compensating.
board, but the whole purpose of the program is to get young people
Maybe it's a monthly
engaged
stipend.
with the board and with the staff and learning about water issues and acting as
Per day or something.
ambassadors, if you will, with their peers.
Okay,
50 does seem like a lot for committee meetings, because there's like 4 a month and
if they went to all of them, they'd make
like
more money
200,
than I am.
250
Well, they get paid
bucks
120 something. So.
per committee meeting?
126. Whether it lasts an hour or
Does
whether it
seem like
lasts
a lot.
15 minutes.
Per 15 minutes.
And I'm not saying that's appropriate either, but that is the way it's currently set up, so.
Yeah,
But you're talking about potentially a 16-year-old participating in a program and coming in for a half-hour meeting getting paid.
I'm assuming that if it was a 15-minute meeting, that it wouldn't be authorized for them to attend necessarily.
Well, that's the clarity, perhaps the clarity is on, as appropriate on these committee meetings. I mean, if it's going to be a lengthy discussion where there's a lot of.
Well, then have two
details
price.
to work out.
No, right. So for the board, I'd like to address the comment about what the board compensation. We have a half-day workshop coming up, and, we get our 126 or so thereabouts for the entire 4 hours. We had a 6-hour board meeting last month, and we got
appreciate that.
126. And,
Yeah.
I've been on 15-minute admin exec meetings and gotten that. So I think when you average it over the time you've spent over the year, it doesn't, for the board members, is not unreasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
well, you're obviously not doing this for the compensation.
No, I'm not. In fact, I was surprised we were going to get,
Me too.
I also don't, well, anyway, so maybe it's one rate for board meetings and another rate for committee meetings. So I don't know.
Something to think about.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions?
I did notice on the application that the age range says 26 instead of 24.
I was going to wait till we were done, but.
Yes,
Oh, you
it does.
noticed that too, yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I'll correct that.
We could simplify perhaps and just give them an hourly rate. So for a 3-hour meeting, they're going to get paid 3 times the hourly rate.
Okay, so, all right.
Submit their hours each month. Yeah. Then they have to do like a
A
timesheet.
little extra work for Diane.
So there does appear to be some concern about the
Yeah.
rate of compensation. And I don't think we're going to settle it here today. the board can take it up, I think, and settle it then. So we can recommend that with a discussion about what compensation is appropriate at the board meeting. Oops, see, I left the, I sounded like a question. I'd like to, unless you have an objection, I'd like to approve, I recommend this, but with the discussion about compensation. So another comment, related to this, there's Leadership Ridgecrest Program. Is that still going, Don?
I had heard that they intended to restart the program, but excuse me, I haven't seen any details. And it may be related to Tim Smith resigning, because I think
Okay.
he was instrumental in getting the program going.
All right.
But I know there was interest in resurrecting it after the pandemic.
All right, good. Well, and this would be a perfect fit for that. If they had somebody who was in Leadership Ridgecrest that wanted to apply, that would be good. Any other comments or questions? All right.
So just to be clear, just further discussion about compensation and perhaps participation in committee meetings?
Yes.
Those two issues?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'll make the correction on the typo on the application.
Thank you. Okay, then let us move on to discussion of SB 606 and AB 1668.
Okay, well, just so happens that this morning, there's a letter she should have a copy of. It's a draft from Aqua regarding SB 1157, which is essentially connected to SB 606 and AB 1668. If you'll recall, it's the legislation which modifies the targets for indoor use. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a few things. I got this morning. Aqua's asking coalition members if they were interested in still signing on to this letter, which we've been a member of this coalition from the beginning, and I responded and said, by all means, keep us on. The second paragraph highlights the amendments that they're requesting. One is to make implementation of the 2030 standard contingent upon the completion of additional studies, including information necessary to support that standard. Number two, require the additional studies and investigations of DWR that were recently added to the bill to include consideration of variation between systems and the long-term impacts of telework. And they note further on that because of the pandemic, studies have shown that people working from home adds like 3 to 5 gallons per capita per day.
Okay.
So that's significant when you're looking at a 42 target that this SB 1157 is proposing. Number three, and this is one thing that we're interested in, include additional variance categories to account for affordability, telework, evaporative coolers, and recycled water systems. And four, require DWR's report on the progress of urban water retail water suppliers towards achieving their urban water use objective to include information related to funding for disadvantaged communities. And regarding that number three, that variance for evaporative coolers, last week, Aqua held what they called a leadership to leadership virtual meeting with Pam Tobin, the president of Aqua, Kathy Green, the vice president, and Dave Edgerton, the CEO. Anybody from Region 7, which is the region we're in, it includes the Central Valley, could participate in that webinar. And basically, it's a listening session. They want to hear, as they said, what keeps you up all night? So it was interesting because myself and only one other person participated for the entire Region 7. So we had a unique opportunity to bend their ear, myself, for about 20 minutes to tell them what kept me up at night. I did mention evaporative coolers. I mentioned that I haven't been able to get any information on that. They promised to follow up on it. Michael Cervantes, who's our Region 7 advocate, said he would get back to me. One other outcome of the discussion was, after telling him about our district and what we're facing with SGMA, the Groundwater Authority, the GSP, the litigation, Dave Edgerton indicated that he would like to make a visit to our district. And both Pam and Kathy said, we want to come too.
Okay.
So I told them that in the 10-plus years I've been here, we've never had anybody from Aqua senior leadership visit our district. And so they wanted to make a point of it. And I suggested they wait until after August and September to come. But they seem very interested in making a trip out to see what's going on in our district. So
Well, if you want to emphasize the need for evaporative coolers, bring them out in August would be a good idea.
that's true. They'll still be running though, I'm sure.
Were you able to give them some insights into how much water evaporative coolers use?
I did. I cited previous letter we've sent to the state board, which included studies that we've done internally and studies that are on the internet. And the numbers are basically between 60 and 160 gallons per day per cooler, depending on how they're equipped, of course, how they're operated, what the thermostat's set at, whether they have a purge pump or whether they just continually, dump water. So they recognized, they acknowledged that that's a significant issue. And as I said, they indicated they would try and follow up and get back to us on it.
Okay.
But you can read the rest of the letter, and the third page and fourth page are the amendments that they've suggested. Blue line, I should say, red line and blue line. But this is the draft, and they asked for responses by the end of tomorrow, whether those that are on a coalition presently want to continue on the coalition and send this letter. So I already responded, as I said, so our logo will be on this letter when it's sent.
Okay.
But again, I really appreciate the involvement of Aqua in this and pointing out some of the deficiencies in the legislation and things that need to be addressed, further studies that need to be done. Because when these targets were set up, again, it was before the pandemic, and things have definitely changed since then. So that's the latest on that.
Couple of things. So the average indoor residential water use, and that's probably 4 apartments and for houses. And so, not every apartment has a washer and a dryer. So I think that I'm not particularly excited about the standards that the state is setting. I think they're too low, especially when you consider that the tiny fraction of water that residential or cities use against the entire state compared to the other uses in the state. I think the real solution is to stop fooling around and start repairing and building reservoirs so water can be caught during flood years and retained for use in non-flood years. And if you have an excessive amount of water one year, go ahead and pump that into the aquifer rather than letting it run out of the reservoirs and flood into the ocean. So
And understanding you haven't really had time to read through this, but on page 2, the third paragraph down, talks about one of the consequences of the reduced residential gallons per capita per day.
Yep.
And the fact of reduced flow through sewage treatment. And it gives an example of the city of San Diego. There's a case study revised in June 2020 that found that reduced flows through 2035 would cost $102 million for system modifications.
right.
So
So
Aqua is saying, you need to look at all the impacts of this, not just putting a number out there and saying, get to that target. There are consequences to doing this.
from articles I've read, I understand that cities such as San Francisco and Los Angeles lose up to 40%, 43% of the water that run through their systems to leaks. The water distribution systems were created in the early 1900s, and they have not been well maintained, and they certainly haven't been upgraded except as new sections, but not been upgraded to a great extent. Otherwise, they wouldn't be losing that much water. If they really wanted to help, there's other things they can do, fix that up. But imagine now the sewer system has been in place since 1903, and it is designed to carry solid waste all the way to the treatment plant. It's based on how much water is being flushed through the toilet. Even with the low-flow toilets, we're finding that some waste is not making it from people's houses to the main sewer line. And that's resulting in clogs and property damage and, I would say, risk to people's health. I think that they have a goal, and they figure that we'll just figure out how to do that. And it's not their responsibility to look at the other consequences. All right, thank you. So the only other comment is I like where they're pulling all the mays out. So instead of variance options may include, but shall include. I like to see that. What do you require from us today?
Nothing today. As I said, this is just for information. We're giving updates at the admin exec. It's on the agenda every month. And again, this just came through this morning.
Okay.
I assume that the board would want to continue as a member of the coalition, so I just said that, I went in and responded. So there's no action. This is just for information.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions or comments since I've been holding forth?
No, I am encouraged by this as well. It gives us insights into problems that other districts are seeing that we may not have seen, especially when it comes to waste product or waste treatment and the impacts that we're getting ready to put in a new waste treatment facility around here. If we're going to have an anticipated flow difference, it makes it.
Yeah, it might not be 2,000 acre feet, it might be 1,000 acre feet.
We better,
Program.
we better design it appropriately or have some way to adjust the design for the changes in flow.
Yep.
You mentioned a few meetings ago, Don, about what our assessment was for leakage in our local system. It's considerably less than what's happening in San Francisco and LA.
Oh, yeah. And where did I read it? I think it was in the general plan. It mentioned 1%, I believe.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And we're monitoring that regularly?
Oh, yeah. We report what's lost to atmosphere and leaks to the board. It's optional to report to the state board, but we've been reporting it all along, the numbers that Jason turns in.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's all I have.
All right, so somebody is going to go and view the recording of this committee meeting. They should also know that this water district is dedicated to saving water. And when we in fact are cleaning out certain sections, we have a truck that is used for that purpose, so the water can be circulated through the vehicle and the particulate matters and other contaminants can be removed and the water returned to the system. And we save an incredible amount of water every year.
Well over 8 million gallons plus, right? Something like that.
We're getting really close to 9 million gallons, yes.
And instead of just flushing it, we're recycling it. My compliments. Okay. Let's go ahead then to item 6. Draft agenda for the regular board meeting for the July 11th meeting.
Did you want me to go through it?
Yes, please.
Okay. In addition to the consent calendar, we have the public health goals report, which was presented to committee. Again, it's more of a receive and file, but there is a public hearing required, a 30-day comment period for public. It's a report, as Renee reported during the committee meeting. It's not anything that we're required to file with the state or anything like that, but it's something we are supposed to do. So again, it'd just be for the board to review it, comment on it, receive and file, and then we would bring it back at the next board meeting for final approval. And then plant and equipment, yesterday, the contract from Onslaught Construction to close out that contract and pay the retention. That was the recommendation of the committee. So that will go to the board, closing out that contract, and then, of course, we'll have to start a new contract, go out for bids on a new contract for repaving. Admin exec, the two things we discussed today, the changes to the network security policy, as well as the junior associate board member program, pilot program. Normal agenda item as of late, the groundwater authority update from both Jim and Stan, and then comprehensive adjudication. Jim will share what he can about that. And on the staff, general manager and staff reports, the only thing I bring up again, the mid-year board workshop. Agenda items, just as a reminder for that board workshop to Lauren, myself, and to David by July 12th. Isn't that right? 15th, okay. And I believe all we have are the rate study, cost of service analysis, and the goal update on the goals and objectives right now, just those two items.
That ought to take the better part of the day.
Could be, depending, yeah. And other than that, the normal update items. And then we have a pretty long laundry list in closed session to take care of.
In item number 3, will there be Will we be soliciting or listening to public inputs about topics for the workshop, or will we be, is that our decision alone? How's
We
that
can
work?
have public comment at that time, and they can make suggestions, and if a board director wants to put it forward.
It's the board's workshop, so it's, the board sets the agenda, and obviously the public can attend, they have attended in the past, but are you suggesting the public contribute to the agenda?
No, I was just
Don't-
trying to think forward if it would be an awkward situation, if somebody were to make a recommendation, would we have time to consider it? And we, I think we do, right? We need inputs to you by,
15th.
15.
okay, so that'll work out all
So
right.
somebody says, you should have an agenda item for,
Or had you considered having an agenda
right,
item
and
on
you can,
something?
if you want to put, we can talk about that. You don't have to make a decision about it that day.
All right, good.
All right? Anything else, Mr. Vice President?
No, that's it for me.
All right, anybody else? Comments, questions? I see we have nobody online watching us live. So there we go. I said we're okay with the agenda. All right. And future agenda items, item number 7. Anybody have anything they'd like to toss onto the agenda for the future?
I do not.
Okay. I'm not seeing much enthusiasm for that. Then we'll go to item number 8, which is adjournment. I'll call this meeting closed at 3:30 PM.